Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Weekend. It's a brand new show where every week we talk about your favorite sports, and this week we're covering college football. All right, as always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified every time we make a new video. And with that being said, let's jump right into last week's insane moment. Last week's insane moment comes from the Big 12, as usual. Big 12 is officially out of playoff contention, in my opinion. Texas lost, TCU, heartbreaker. They fumbled it at the 1 yard line. Tough situation. My heart goes out to Longhorn Nation, but what are you going to do? Oklahoma loses again. They lose two straight. They lose to Iowa State 37-30. Another shocker. Big 12's last hope is Oklahoma State. I don't see them making it to the playoff. They almost lost to Tulsa. They're not going to beat Oklahoma. They're not going to beat Texas. Both those teams, even though they lost, are still stronger than Oklahoma State. It'd be very difficult to change my mind except watching the game and seeing Oklahoma State beat both of those teams. So, Big 12, officially, you're out. SEC, ACC, they just got a big boost into getting two teams in. All right. That does it for last week's insane moment. No headlines this week. We're going to jump right into the games because we have a lot of them. First game is a Friday night matchup between Louisville and Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech, their offense has been horrible. They have not done anything productive. They're just, I don't know what else to say. They're just not good. They only put up 19 points per game. No offense equals no winning. If you can't put points on the board, doesn't matter how good your defense is, they can't stop the other team every single time. And Louisville has proven to be a good team offensively. So, for the first game, I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals. Give me Louisville. I think they beat Georgia Tech, and they continue to have a decent season. All right, next game, we have South Carolina taking on Vanderbilt. Both of these teams are 0-2. Not surprised. I really am not surprised by that. South Carolina is having a decent season so far. They've just been unlucky. They played Tennessee. They should have won, but they had a bad punt return, bad punt coverage. And then they play Florida. They're not going to beat Florida. Florida's just too strong. Not surprised there either. Vanderbilt might go 0-10 in the SEC. Vanderbilt is a horrible team. They've always been a horrible team. So I'm going to have to give this one to South Carolina. I think South Carolina has enough talent. I think they can handle Vanderbilt. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to do really anything to stop them. So give me the Gamecocks. All right, next game, we have Florida taking on Texas A&M. Now, Kyle Trask is coming off a great season. He is throwing 10 touchdowns to only one interception, which is terrific for quarterbacks in the NCAA, especially in the SEC with all those good defenses over there. But biggest X factor for this game, Kyle Pitts, the tight end for Florida. He has 6 touchdowns in only 2 games, which is outstanding. It's outstanding for wide receivers, not only tight ends. Expect him to have a huge game against Texas A&M. I think Florida wins. Texas A&M probably will tumble out of the AP Top 25. Jimbo Fisher, I can't really discredit you for this. Florida's just a really good team. Florida's hot right now. You're not really going to be able to stop them. I'm sorry. So give me the Gators. All right, next game, we have an ACC matchup, another Top 25 game. We have North Carolina taking on Virginia Tech at home. Sam Howell has struggled. Sam Howell has not been doing good. Michael predicted that Sam Howell would be number 2 in his Heisman at the beginning of the season. I don't think that's happening. I don't think he's getting invited to New York. He's thrown 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in 2 games. That's not good. That's not a good recipe for winning. I'm still deciding on this game, actually. I have not picked yet. I am going to pick live on camera because this is such a toss-up to me. I couldn't decide until we started filming because the ESPN FPI gives Virginia Tech a 52.3% chance to win. That's about as down the middle as you can get. So it's just, do I want to go with Virginia Tech's offense or NC State's offense? Because North Carolina, not NC State, I'm sorry. Because North Carolina only has 28 points per game compared to Virginia Tech, who puts up 41 points per game. I'm going to go with the offense. I'm going to go with a stronger offense. Give me the Hokies. I think that they get it done. Virginia Tech wins. They beat Sam Howell and the Tar Heels. All right, next game. Missouri, LSU. I'm going with the Tigers out of LSU. It's Missouri. It's Missouri. I mean, I don't really need to say anything else about this game. All right. This one's actually interesting because both teams are coming off horrible losses in Texas and Oklahoma. Texas just lost to TCU in a heartbreaker, like I said before, in last week's insane moment. They were driving down the field, fumbled the ball on the 1-yard line that would have put them in the lead. They lose that game to TCU, so now they drop down into the 20s of the rankings. Oklahoma loses to Iowa State 37-30. They're out of the rankings for the first time since 2016. That is an insane streak. I think only behind Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State for the longest streak of being in the AP Top 25. Sad for them. But this is a battle of the quarterbacks. Sam Ehlinger, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's really good. Sam Ehlinger's doing great. He just needs everybody else around him to pick up the slack. Sam Radler, he's struggled recently. He's only thrown 10 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and has not been clutch. When they needed him to step up, he has not delivered. He throws interceptions, allows himself to be sacked. The offensive line is not doing him any favors, but whenever you're getting pressured like that, you have to know, maybe I should run with the ball or, check down to my running back. I'm going to trust experience, and I'm going to trust Sam Ehlinger to get this done. I think the Longhorns win and Oklahoma loses 3 straight. I did not think I'd be saying that, considering I put them in my top 4 at the beginning of the season. How things change, I cannot believe it. All right, next game, we have Coastal Carolina taking on the AP Top 25 team out of Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns. Both these teams are shockingly doing very well. Coastal's undefeated. Louisiana is coming off the win. Well, not coming off, but they beat Iowa State earlier in the year. So they both have Big 12 wins under their belt, but who doesn't? Coastal Carolina has been on a tear. Their offense has been doing progressively better ever since the start of the season. In week 1, they put up 38 points. Week 2, they put up 43, and then in week 3, they put up 52 points. I think they continue their streak of dominant offense. I think Coastal Carolina continues their undefeated season, and the Chanticleers get it done. They beat Louisiana and possibly jump into the AP Top 25. All right, next game, we have the Wolfpack out of NC State taking on the Cavaliers out of Virginia. Now, Virginia's coming off the loss against Clemson. They played well, but, it's Clemson. There's too much talent there. And NC State's coming off the last-second win against Pitt, which I picked Pitt. I'm a little upset about this one. I'm a little salty still. They won on a last-second touchdown, take the lead. They won 30-29 against Pitt. Still a little upset about that, but I'll pick non-biased here. Virginia's rush defense. What else can I say besides 90.5 yards per game, which is outstanding. But both offenses are pretty balanced. They both do a good mixture of running and passing the ball. They both average around 250 yards per game passing and a little over 130, 120 yards per game rushing the ball. So both defenses are going to be on their toes. They're not going to know what's coming. This one's a toss-up. This one could go either way. But I'm looking at one stat that kind of pokes out to me. NC State is 40% on third down. That is not good. Anywhere below 50% is subpar in my opinion. If you can't stay out on the field on third down, if you can't convert on third downs, the chances of you winning consistently are going down very, very badly. I don't know what else to say about that other than I think Virginia is going to win. I think that NC State will not be able to keep their offense on the field. I think their defense gets tired, and Virginia comes out with the win. Go Cavaliers. Next game, we have the Duke Blue Devils and Chase Bryce taking on Tommy DeVito and Syracuse. Tommy DeVito, never been good. He's always been subpar. He's just not good. He wants to be Eric Dungey, but he's not. Eric Dungey was the last good quarterback for Syracuse. Tommy DeVito is not that. Chase Bryce is having a pretty bad year. He's thrown 3 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Not good. Hopefully he improves. But I still trust a talented quarterback in Chase Bryce more than I trust Tommy DeVito because Chase Bryce still has over 900 passing yards. So I'll take the yardage and hope that he doesn't throw interceptions. Give me the Blue Devils. If I'm wrong on this one again, because I've picked Duke almost every single time, and they've let me down almost every single time, I will no longer pick Duke for the rest of the season. I don't care who they're playing. But I stand by that. Next game, we have it's a top 15 matchup, actually. We have Tennessee taking on Georgia. which will be a very interesting game. It'll really show us what Tennessee's made of. They haven't played a really good team yet. They've played some decent teams, but they're going to go against the toughest test of the year, that's for sure, against Georgia, whose defense is only giving up 8 points per game. That is ridiculous. I don't know if they can beat that defense. That the defense is too strong. I think Tennessee, as good as they can be, they're not good enough to beat Georgia. Georgia's going to win. I don't know if it's going to be a landslide, but Georgia's going to win pretty handily. They're going to handle Tennessee no problem, in my opinion. Next game, we have Texas Tech taking on Iowa State. Now, Iowa State, they keep going back and forth with if they're good or they bad. They can't really make up their mind. I'm going to go with Texas Tech's air raid. They are putting up some insane numbers. Their quarterback, Alan Bowman, he averages 10-plus yards of completion. I think that he continues to have a good season. I think Texas Tech pulls off the upset and beats Iowa State in a high-scoring game in a shootout. Next game, we have Arkansas and Auburn. Auburn's coming off the loss to Georgia where they couldn't really put up anything on offense against the Georgia defense. This time they're going against Arkansas. Arkansas handled Mississippi State last week. They handled Mississippi State. They won 21-14. They held a team to 14 points that put up 44 points against LSU and had 623 yards passing against LSU. This is a tough one to call. I want to stick with Auburn and the talent, but Arkansas, did they get lucky? That's the real question. I'm going to trust Bo Nix and the Auburn Tigers and Chad Morris at the offensive coordinator. I think Auburn gets it done, and I think Auburn beats the Razorbacks. All right, next game, we have the Pittsburgh Panthers coming off against that heartbreaker loss against NC State against the Boston College Eagles. Pitt's defense, even with the loss, they are still strong. I mean, they allow only 232 yards per game and 15 points per game. Even with the loss against NC State, I still trust that defense more than I trust anything else in this world. I think Pittsburgh gets the win against Boston College. They are too strong on defense. Give me the Panthers. Next game, we have Kansas State taking on TCU. It's a Big 12 matchup, so really it's going to be a shootout. That's what they always are. It's a toss-up, again, Kansas State or TCU. TCU comes off against that win against Texas. Do they have a down game and don't play as well against Kansas State, who lost to Arkansas State at the beginning of the year? I'm not sure. But I will say, Skylar Thompson, in the big games and when moments matter, he runs the ball and he runs the ball good. He had 3 rushing touchdowns against Oklahoma when they beat them. I think that he does it again. I think it's a close game, and I think Skylar Thompson is asked to run the ball over 10 times that game and has at least 1 rushing touchdown. And I think the Wildcats beat Texas Christian University. Give me the Wildcats. Next game, we have an SEC matchup, Alabama at Ole Miss, which is going to feel like a Big 12 game because it's going to be a shootout. Ole Miss has been doing really good on offense, and Alabama, we all know how good and how powerful their offense is with Mac Jones, Najee Harris, and Jalen Waddle heading that offense. I think it's a shootout. I think this is a dangerous game for Alabama. I think they need to watch out for Ole Miss. I think they could give them a run for their money, but I think Alabama is going to win. So give me the Crimson Tide. They stay undefeated. Next game, we have a temporary ACC matchup with Florida State taking on Notre Dame. Florida State has had a bad year this year. They only put 10 points up against Miami and allowing 52 points. Not a good recipe for success when you're taking on a top 5 team in the country, Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is too strong. I think they have too much talent. And coming off basically a bye week since their game was canceled for Corona, I think they have a well-rested team, and they beat Florida State pretty handily. So give me the Fighting Irish. Next game, we have Mississippi State taking on Kentucky. Now, with this game, I'm very intrigued to see which Mississippi State we're going to see. Are we going to see the 623 yards and 5 touchdowns against LSU? Or are we going to see the 300 yards and 3 interceptions against Arkansas? I don't know which one we're going to get. This one's going to be really interesting to watch. KJ Costello has been inconsistent, to say the least. I mean, we were all high on KJ Costello after the LSU game. I was even thinking that he could maybe make it into the Heisman conversation. I made a pun for him. I mean, I felt a little hurt. I gave him the pun treatment, and then he does that against Arkansas. I feel betrayed. But I'm going to trust him one more week. I'm going with Mississippi State with more cowbell. Give me the Bulldogs, as I say half-heartedly because I'm not 100% confident in that game. Next game, game day. The most important game of the week. We have a top 10 matchup in the ACC. I didn't think I'd be saying that until Clemson played Notre Dame, but here we are. Miami is number 7 in the country, taking on the Clemson Tigers, who are number 1 in the country still. Clemson's biggest game of the year as of now. Biggest test of the year as of now. Miami's defense and their turnover chain is always dangerous to watch. They're facing by far the best quarterback that they've faced in De'Aaron King. This is going to be interesting to watch. Clemson's defense has been better statistically against Miami. Clemson's defense only allows 300 yards per game compared to Miami, who allows 370 yards per game. And scoring-wise, Clemson's only given up 12 points per game compared to Miami's 19 points per game. So Miami's defense isn't as strong, but that could be because they played better competition. This is still tough to choose. I think that this is a dangerous game for Clemson. I think Clemson could very well lose this game. If they lose, they'd have to win out the rest of the season to have a chance at the playoff. But I'm going to trust Trevor Lawrence, and I think Travis Etienne has a big game against this Miami defense. I think the turnover chain comes out maybe once or twice in this game, but I think Clemson holds on and wins with a last-second drive in the fourth quarter and continues their undefeated season and their quest for the 2020 college football playoff. Give me the Tigers. All right, we've talked about a lot of games. We talked about 15 games, so we're just going to cut the show off there. Hopefully I do better this week because over this season I'm about 40-19, which comes out to around 67% accuracy. But it's not my fault. I'm never wrong. They're wrong. The teams are wrong. So as always, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and hit the bell if you want to be notified every single time I post a video. And I'll see you next week in college football.